Here's a question that sounds like it should have one clean answer. Should your cat be allowed outside? It feels like the kind of thing veterinary medicine would have settled decades ago. Cat goes outside or cat stays inside. Surely there's a right answer, and surely every vet gives you the same one. Here's the thing. They don't. Look into how veterinarians actually approach this question, and you'll find genuinely different answers. Not slightly different in wording, but different in substance. Some say, without hesitation, that indoor only is the only responsible choice. Others argue that a totally indoor life, for some cats, creates its own serious problems. And a third group says it depends so heavily on the individual cat that a blanket answer is actually bad advice. Here's what most cat owners don't realize. This isn't a sign that vets don't know what they're talking about. It's a sign that this question sits at a genuine, unresolved fault line in veterinary medicine, one where good evidence exists on more than one side, and where even the experts who study this for a living haven't converged on a single answer. Let's walk through all three positions, honestly, and why each one has real weight behind it. 1. Indoor only, no exceptions. Let's start with a position you've probably heard most often, because it's the one with the strongest safety data behind it. Veterinarians who advocate firmly for indoor-only cats point to a body of evidence that is genuinely hard to argue with. Outdoor cats face dramatically higher rates of unintentional trauma, vehicle strikes, fights with other animals, and exposure to predators that indoor cats simply never encounter. They also face significantly higher exposure to infectious diseases, including feline leukemia virus and feline immunodeficiency virus, along with parasites like fleas, ticks, and heartworm that spread through outdoor contact. There's also a public health dimension that surprises a lot of owners. Indoor-outdoor cats can increase human exposure to certain zoonotic diseases. And veterinary researchers have been studying this under what's called a One Health framework, the idea that animal health, human health, and environmental health are all connected. From this lens, keeping cats indoors isn't just about protecting the cat. It's about protecting the broader ecosystem of human and animal health around them. Veterinarians in this camp will tell you, plainly, the data on safety and longevity overwhelmingly favors indoor cats. Surveys have found that most pet owners themselves already agree cats should be kept indoors. This isn't a fringe position. It is, by most measures, the majority view among both veterinarians and owners. 2. Fully indoor creates its own problems. Here's where it gets really interesting because the second position doesn't dispute any of that safety data. It just argues that safety isn't the only variable that matters. A meaningful number of vets and behaviorists raise a different concern. Cats are, biologically, active hunters and explorers. Without any outdoor access or adequate substitute enrichment, some cats develop behavioral issues, obesity from inactivity, destructive scratching, redirected aggression, anxiety-driven overgrooming, that stem directly from an understimulated environment. Outdoor access, even limited, gives cats novel smells, sounds, and physical activity that indoor environments often fail to replicate. This isn't an argument for unrestricted outdoor roaming. It's an argument that indoor and well cared for aren't automatically the same thing. A vet in this camp might tell an owner, keeping your cat indoors is safer, but only if you're actually meeting the enrichment needs that outdoor access used to meet by default. Many owners, in practice, don't, and the cat pays for that gap in stress and behavioral problems rather than trauma or disease. Some vets in this group will recommend supervised alternatives, a harness and leash, a secure outdoor enclosure sometimes called a catio, as a middle path that gets some of the enrichment benefit without the major safety risks. 3. IT depends entirely on the individual cat. And here's the third position, the one that frustrates owners looking for a simple answer the most, because it refuses to give one. Vets in this camp argue that the indoor-outdoor question can't be answered at the species level at all. It has to be answered at the level of the individual cat, their personality, their health status, and their specific environment. A nervous, Easily stressed cat in a busy urban area with heavy traffic faces a completely different risk profile than a confident, healthy cat in a rural area with a securely fenced yard and minimal road exposure. This position treats the debate less as a right versus wrong question and more as a risk calibration exercise that depends on details a blanket rule simply can't capture. It also tends to be the position most explicitly informed by the research showing how polarized and emotionally charged this debate has become online. Researchers studying the discourse around it have found owners on both sides sometimes describe the opposing side in genuinely hostile terms, language usually reserved for far more serious moral disagreements. Vets taking this position will often spend more time asking questions about your specific cat and your specific home than giving you a rule to follow. Actionable takeaways. If you're currently navigating this decision, here's how to actually use these three positions rather than just feeling caught between them. Start with the safety data because it's the most consistent finding across all three positions. Outdoor cats face real, measurable risks that indoor cats don't. That part isn't actually in dispute. Then, ask yourself the enrichment question honestly. If you choose indoor only, are you genuinely providing the vertical space, play, and mental stimulation that outdoor access used to provide for free? If the answer is no, that's the gap to close first, through play, puzzle feeders, window access, and the other enrichment principles we've covered in past videos, rather than reaching for outdoor access as the default fix. And if you're drawn to some outdoor access, look at supervised middle paths. A secure catio or harness-trained leash walking gives you a version of outdoor stimulation without most of the major risk factors the indoor-only camp is worried about. There is no universal right answer here. There is only the answer that's right for your specific cat, in your specific environment, weighed honestly against real data rather than internet certainty on either side. Here's what this split in veterinary opinion actually tells you. This isn't a case of bad information or vets who haven't done their homework. It's a genuine, ongoing area of disagreement in veterinary medicine, one where safety data, behavioral science, and individual circumstance all pull in slightly different directions, and where reasonable, well-informed professionals land in different places. The next time someone tells you there's only one correct answer to the indoor-outdoor cat question, you'll know enough to ask them which version of the argument they're actually making and whether they've considered the others. Where do you land on this? Indoor only, supervised outdoor access, or somewhere in between? Tell me your reasoning in the comments, not just your answer. I want to understand the why behind each side, and I read every single one. If you made it this far, you understand something most people never will. Cats aren't just pets. They're complex, emotional, intelligent beings. Tap the video on your screen to keep learning the secret language of cats. And subscribe to Cat Class, because understanding your cat changes everything.